I don't know if this has happened to you, but when I have more than one project that I'm working on in After Effects, I tend to put the renders in the wrong folder. For example, let's say here I have two projects that I'm working on, and of course they're both on different folders. If I set a render here, when I move to the other project and I want to set a render, it defaults to the folder I was just using, which is the one for the other project. So now that means I have to navigate to the correct drive, find the right folder, and type the right name. And this has been an actual issue because not only, well, it's annoying, but in my case, for example, we use a standard structure of directories. So each project has its own renders folder. So it's real easy to make a mistake and place your renders in the directory of the wrong project. And then, of course, you can't find the render, which you pinky swear you did. And it could also lead to a situation where you send a private render to the wrong client. So I decided to make a solution for that, and I've been using it for a couple of years. And once it's set up, it's real easy. I just fill my render queue without worrying about names, locations, or anything like that. Then I select the profile that I did earlier. I then click apply. And now my whole queue is not only in the correct folder, but also has the correct name and even the correct version number. So let me show you how I set this up. First, you need to get the AEBOS app, which you can download in the link in the description. From there, it will allow you to install RenderCure, and there's a bunch of other extensions as well. You might have to restart After Effects, but once it's installed, it will show up in the window menu towards the bottom. RenderCure works by creating profiles. You can create a profile specific for a single project or a more general profile that you can use with all your projects. To create a profile, I'm going to click here at Edit Profiles, and that will bring up this window. At the top here, I can select the profile that I want, and down here are all the settings for that profile. So if I select this one, Dropbox Review, that loads all the settings for that profile down here. Here are the render settings, which match the ones available in the render queue. This dropdown allows you to select one of your render templates. In this case, I have a ProRes LT profile that I did. And lastly, this is where the magic happens. In this Output To section, you can enter the location and file name of your output. But you're not limited to a specific location or name. You can use tokens. And tokens are keywords, basically, surrounded by these two symbols, less than and greater than. What will happen is when you apply the profile, these tokens will be replaced by different things depending on what token you used. And you don't need to memorize these tokens, by the way. You can just click here, cheat sheet, and that will bring up a list with all the tokens that you can use and what they do. All right, let's see them in action. For example, this will place the render in my Dropbox folder, then in here, but this project name token will be replaced by the name of my project file. Since this is its own folder, it will create that folder with that name here. And for the file name, it will replace this comp name token with the name of each comp. Let me show you. And let's say on the name I also want to say preview after the comp name. So let's add that real quick. Then I'm going to save and close this. Select the Dropbox review profile, and the profile is already selected. So I'll just click apply. And you can see it applied the render settings and the ProRes LT render template that I selected. The output 2 has the name of the comp and the preview text, just like I wanted. And if I click on it to see where it's saving it, you can see it's inside my Dropbox folder, this whole path that I gave it, and inside the folder called after my project file. Perfect. Of course, this profile will always place it in my Dropbox folder, but by using a different token, I can place the outputs in a folder that's relative to where the After Effects project is saved. That probably sounds more complicated than it actually is, so let me show you. I'll open the profile editor again, and I'll bring up the cheat sheet. I want to bring your attention to these two in particular, project folder and project parent folder. These tokens are the equivalent of the folder where your project is saved. And I'll explain the difference in a minute, but let me just show you here. I'll bring up the Dropbox review profile. And instead of saving in this location, the Dropbox, etc., I will replace the whole thing by the project folder. Then a renders, and then the name that I had before. I'll save this as a new profile. All right, so let's hit save and close. And when I apply this profile, well, the file name is the same, of course, but if I click on it to see the location, now it's in the same folder as my After Effects project. If I open a different project and I apply this same profile, the location always matches the After Effects project. So yeah, that's pretty neat. The other token, project parent folder, it's very similar, except it doesn't go to the folder where the project is, but to the parent of it. So like one folder up. And I actually use this one more often because I like to keep all my After Effects project files in the same folder, and all my renders are not inside that folder, but in a folder next to it. So I'll change this from project folder to project parent folder. I will save and apply. All right, and I'll bring this folder up, and if you see the location, you can see that it's in this A renders subfolder, and that folder now it's right next to the comps folder instead of inside it. The last thing I want to mention is that you can also set up to 4 outputs for each profile. For example, if I wanted to render the same comp as both a review file that I can send quickly and a full quality final at the same time, I can go again to the profile editor. And all right, let's bring up the Dropbox review profile. And here I'll add a second full quality output. And this one's going to be ProRes 444. And I'll place it in the project parent folder. Then final outputs. And then the comp name. So if I save that and apply the profile, now I can easily make 2 outputs. The preview file will go straight to Dropbox so I can share it quickly. And the final will be right next to my project. And I think it's pretty neat. If I had to do this manually, I mean, with one output it would be okay, but you know, if you had a lot of them and you had to put them in 2 folders, I don't know, it would be a pain in the butt. It would definitely be more than one click. And that's it. That's the basics of Render Cura. I wanted to keep this video short, but there are some other really useful features like automatic version numbers, adding other information to your render queue, and working with Media Encoder. I'll cover all those in the next video. So check out the link in the description or click in this box right here. Thanks.